This is Inside the Americas. Here's a look at what's coming up in today's show. The suspect in the New York bombing last weekend is charged with 4 offenses, including using weapons of mass destruction. He was captured holding a handwritten journal praising Osama bin Laden. The Colombian government and FARC rebels get set to sign a peace deal that would put an end to 50 years of fighting. We'll take a look at what this new era will bring to the rebels themselves. And Hollywood's most glamorous couple calls it quits. More on the end of Brangelina, or what some people are calling the BrexPitt, on the way. I'm Jeannie Godula. Well, new details have come out about Ahmad Rohani, the man accused of planting bombs in New York and New Jersey last weekend. The one bomb that actually exploded in Manhattan left 31 people hurt. Rohani is now in the hospital after a police shootout that led to his arrest. Here's a closer look at the suspect behind the attacks.
Ahmad Khan Rahimi was inspired by Osama bin Laden, was prepared to die rather than be caught, and had even conducted a dry run prior to last weekend's bombings in New Jersey and New York. These are just some of the details in a federal criminal complaint lodged against him on Tuesday. Rohani faces several charges, including the use of weapons of mass destruction. Authorities say they found a handwritten journal where Rohani blamed the U.S. for the, quote, slaughter against the jihadists in Afghanistan and the Middle East. The Rohani family emigrated to the U.S. from Afghanistan in 1995. Rohani worked at his family's fast food restaurant in New Jersey. Neighbors say the 28-year-old never showed signs of anger or violence.
We would just talk like I'm talking to you now, like just back and forth, like, hey, what's up? What you doing today? Oh, I'm going down the shore. I'm going to do this. Nothing. I never said anything bad about the government. Never asked to see my weapon or anything. Nothing. I mean, just a quiet kid.
Yet Rohani's father allegedly referred to his son as a terrorist in 2014, and this was what put him on the FBI's radar.
You said yesterday to the FBI and tell them that your son was involved in terrorism overseas.
And did you later retract that?
You told that to the FBI. You called them and told them.
Yes.
In 2011, Rohani spent several weeks in Afghanistan and in the Taliban stronghold of Quetta in Pakistan. During this time, he got married and returned to the U.S. with his wife. 2 years later, he returned to Pakistan, this time spending a year there. Rohani was known to law enforcement after he was arrested 2 years ago for a domestic violence incident, but he had never been listed as a terror suspect until now.
Now, also this week, angry street protests broke out in the U.S. state of North Carolina. That was after the police shooting of a black man there. The protests started late Tuesday after 43-year-old Keith Lamont Scott was shot dead in an apartment complex. Police used tear gas to break up the crowd after demonstrators destroyed several police cars. Those protests came just hours after another demonstration in Tulsa, Oklahoma, over another police shooting there. Well, those protests come against the backdrop of the ever more prickly presidential campaign. That vote in the U.S. is pitting two historically unpopular and polarizing candidates against each other. But the sheer dislike of both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton is leading many voters to consider third-party alternatives. Catherine Clifford takes a look now at just who else is in the running.
The Libertarian Party's anti-establishment message is resonating with American voters more than ever. Their presidential nominee, Gary Johnson, is conservative on the economy and a progressive on social issues. Last time round, he got 1% of the vote. Today, several polls have him pulling in 10%. If he can hit 15%, he could participate in televised national debates alongside Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump.
The fact that my name is not in the polls, really, that's at the crux of just how rigged this game is. How do you get to 15% if you're not in the polls?
Johnson's attracting substantial support from millennials, an age group which played a key part in electing Barack Obama. Speaking at a university, Clinton tried to get more students behind her.
I do spend a lot of time on the details of policy, like the precise interest rate on your student loans, right down to the decimal. But that's because it's not a detail for you. It's a big deal.
Green Party candidate Jill Stein is polling around 3%. Her stance against new gas pipelines and free trade deals is helping her attract Bernie Sanders supporters away from Clinton.
We didn't hear one thing about the 15 years of war that we've had. So when I hear someone like Joe Stein talk about ending the American empire as it is with the 700-plus bases across the world, that's something that resonates with me.
Neither Stein or Johnson are likely to win, but could bring in enough votes to tilt the scales.
Some people tend to see third parties as a nuisance. Why? Because they can determine who the president's going to be, right? Can take away some of the hump that one political, candidate can have.
Though millennials may be too young to remember, back in 2000, a Greens candidate got the blame for taking votes from the Democrats, making way for George W. Bush's presidency. Ralph Nader got tens of thousands more votes in Florida than the difference between Bush and Democratic candidate Al Gore. He maintains he wasn't responsible for the Republican win. This time round, a third of Americans are considering voting for a third-party candidate. Any party that gets over 5% is entitled to public funding for the next presidential election, a first step against the traditional two-party system.
The world's longest-running conflict is due to officially come to an end. The Colombian government is set to sign a peace deal with Marxist FARC rebels, putting an end to over half a century of war. Pascal Mariani and Federico Rios report.
¿Están listos? Compañía. Hay presión. Compañía. Hay presión. 5 pasos frente. Mar.
The world's oldest Marxist guerrilla movement is living its last days as an armed force.
Mi gente, vamos a hacer un ejercicio seco, de una marcha en seco.
After 52 years of conflict, the Colombian Revolutionary Armed Forces, known as the FARC, are about to sign a peace deal with the government.
Ya no hay vuelta atrás.
There is no turning back. For the FARC, weapons now belong to the past. We will move on to fighting with ideas.
In their camp, somewhere in the jungle in northwest Colombia, the Front 57 guerrilla fighters have never been so relaxed. In late August, the FARC and the government declared a final ceasefire. Since the guns have fallen silent, life for the rebels has changed.
We haven't used this for a while. The war is almost over. Now we have to put it away. I hope we never have to use it again. It spread fear, a lot of fear, among Colombians and children.
The guerrillas are among many actors in a complex conflict that left over 200,000 people dead and tens of thousands more missing. This French woman lived the war from the inside. Her pseudonym is Nathalie Mistral, and she's fought with the FARC for 15 years.
For me, the physical part was the hardest. How are you? I'm fine. Yes, the physical challenge, the long walks, the weight we carry.
Here, over 40% of the fighters are women. Nathalie Mistral is a commander. She's in charge of communications and relations with civilians.
I am no mercenary, no adventurous warmonger. I have never seen a weapon before joining the FARC. I mean, not closely.
For years, the FARC funded their activities through kidnappings and are often accused of drug trafficking. But Nathalie Mistral supports their political claims.
The FARC are not only about the fighting. It's a collective spirit, a political project, a human project. This is what I am interested in, more than the Rambo side.
After they hand over their weapons, Nathalie Mistral will remain active within the FARC. The armed organization is preparing to become a political party.
Well, the internet went crazy this week over the news that one of the world's most glamorous movie star couples is calling it quits. Angelina Jolie has filed for divorce from her husband, Brad Pitt. They were one of Hollywood's most high-profile couples for over a decade, but got married just 2 years ago. Angelina Jolie is reportedly seeking custody of their 6 children. Josh Vardy has the details.
Meet Mrs. Smith.
A marriage that began on the screen and ended on it. Brad Pitt met Angelina Jolie on the set of action film Mr. and Mrs. Smith before they started their relationship in 2005. They swiftly became one of the most glamorous and powerful couples in Hollywood and eventually married in 2014. Soon after, Jolie directed her film By the Sea, in which she and Pitt played a couple in the middle of a relationship meltdown, but batted away questions over whether it was a case of art imitating life.
This story is not our story, these issues are not our issues, but it is a personal film.
Jolie filed for divorce on September the 19th, citing irreconcilable differences in their marriage. Court documents show that she seeks full physical custody of the couple's 6 children, with visitation rights for Pitt. Californian attorney Gloria Allred says that what happens next will be up to Brad Pitt.
We don't know if there'll be a custody battle or whether he will just agree. He will get visitation in any event, but we'll have to wait and see on the custody issue.
Celebrity gossip mills started churning after the couple successfully sued British newspaper The News of the World in 2010 for suggesting they were headed for a split. Speculation is now focused on the real reason for the breakup, while claims that Brad was getting too close to his co-stars on set recently have been wafted away. Sources claim Jolie was fed up with her husband's constant marijuana use.
You condescend me, man.
Pitt claimed to have given up the drug in 2009 after having been a heavy pot smoker from the 1990s onwards.
Well, that's all the time we have for this Inside the Americas. We'll see you again next week for all the news from north to south.